Ah, what's cracking, y'all? It's me, Quin the Movie Guide here. Life is a mystery, and so are taxes. Why do they exist? What's their purpose? What is a purpose? Does a purpose serve itself its own purpose? I never really found the answer to those questions, but if I did, it certainly would involve the fact that one of my variants got mysteriously murdered in the archives. Life, am I right?
A Haunting in Venice is the latest chapter in the Agatha Christie film adaptations following Detective Hercule Poirot, and it's based on the 1969 novel Halloween Party. The film is directed once again by Kenneth Branagh and stars Kenneth Branagh himself and a lot of newcomers in the cast, with Tina Fey and Michelle Yeoh being among others. The film follows Hercule Poirot, who is now retired and living in a self-imposed exile in the world's most glamorous city. When he reluctantly attends a seance at the decaying and seemingly haunted palazzo, one of the guests is murdered, which thrusts the detective into a sinister world of shadows and secrets. I'm a bit late to the party on these series of films, but I have fairly enjoyed the previous entries of the Poirot adaptations. I personally thought that Murder on the Orient Express is my favorite in the series so far. Plus, I willingly enjoy a mystery film every now and then, and with Kenneth Branagh being the main leading charge behind these films, and also playing the role of the charismatic yet enigmatic Hercule Poirot, it definitely opened a whole realm of possibilities in terms of how far not just the character itself can go, but also how the genre itself can be challenged by different audience perceptions. Prior to seeing A Haunting in Venice, I truly believed that the teaser trailer for this film ultimately set up what could possibly be one of the most surprising horror films of the year. And then, the man with the funky mustache enters the room. There was no doubt in my mind whatsoever that this opens so many possibilities for audiences who may not even be aware of the Poirot films. And I think in many ways that this could serve as an advantage for blind viewers to experience the character for the first time.
A Haunting in Venice was surely a surprise, and despite not being in the grandiose of some, it does pose a very enigmatic aura that does stick with you for a while as soon as the credits rolled. Right down to the opening sequence, I could immediately tell that Branagh really wanted to change it up a bit, and that's thanks to the polarizing direction of the cinematography. And some of you may think that that is a negative thing, but it's quite the opposite of that. I guess it's more subjective than most, that it's very easily noticeable that this film really wanted to go in a different direction than the previous two films. The films were known to be quite restricted in terms of set pieces and its setting. The first film took place entirely on a train, while the second film took place entirely on a ship in the middle of the Nile River. While A Haunting in Venice does continue to celebrate that tradition, it does feel quite a bit more claustrophobic than ever, because not only is it set in a haunted palazzo that looks eerie and goth-like, but it's also the fact that you're surrounded by people who you don't know and who may have a hidden and sinister motive at play.
Kenneth Branagh once again returns as Detective Poirot, and he was excellent in the film. He paints the character in a totally different light, mixing his rather reserved attitude with a hint of absolute dorkiness. In this film, we still get those sides of him, but I had the feeling that Branagh really wanted to set it aside for the remainder of the ongoing narrative. He doesn't believe in the supernatural, but the only problem is that so many things begin happening all at once to the point where his own belief is being challenged. And I think that Branagh was able to capture that feeling of uneasiness within Poirot, because he has never dealt with these types of situations, despite being heavily involved in cases that are most likely even more fucked up than this one. Tina Fey was a surprising addition to the cast, mainly because I've known her from projects that were mostly focused on the genre of comedy. Her addition to the film was quite in fact a good decision, because I think that her character served as a witty opposite to Poirot. While Poirot is seen as the overly analyzed and highly critical thinker, the character of Ariane Oliver is the absolute antithesis and is just looking to make a quick buck on a horrific tragedy. What ties these two characters together is that they're both equivalent in terms of their charming presence on screen. Michelle Yeoh. What more can be said, y'all?
That's what I'm talking about! That's what the MVP! That's why she's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Her appearance, while very brief, brought out some of the film's most tense moments, such as the seance scene, which was very meticulously crafted both in its setup and overall tone. I'm just so happy that she's getting more roles that were not tied down to the typical Asian tropes, and I'm more excited to see what else is in store for her in the future. She was very good in the film, despite being offered somewhat of a smaller role than I originally anticipated. While A Haunting in Venice does pose the challenging notions of a difference in theme, I still found myself quite baffled at how abrupt it was once it came down to the climax. The film is 2 hours long, and while I do admire a naturally fast pacing, there are limits to how far a story can go to resolve itself in a flash. So, once it came down to the end, I found myself going, "What? That's it?" Don't get me wrong, the flow of the plot was decent at best, but I just wish that Branagh was able to expand upon the subtle intricacies of the film's horror side, which was unfortunately its biggest weakness. The jump scares were not particularly seen as your typical run-of-the-mill cliche obvious setups in horror movies. It's more along the lines of sudden bangs or booms going out and about the household. I guess in its entirety, I was only startled once, and that was from a fucking chandelier mysteriously collapsing down to the ground. Those goddamn chandeliers, man.
So yeah, Haunting in Venice is a breath of fresh air to the Poirot film series, and I think that Branagh was able to encapsulate the careful intricacies of the ongoing theme of everything may not be what it seems, while of course trying its best to grab you by the balls with its eerie and chilling atmosphere. I guess the only thing that's left for investigation is Poirot's incredible ability to grow such a suave stash. Being Asian, it is particularly uncommon for us to grow such a substantial amount of facial hair. That's why it prompted me to create a fake one for myself, which is perfect timing because I'm due for another meeting with the others in about an hour. Wish me luck!
Later.
Damn these jeans.